Here's something I recently learned that really stuck with me. Sleeping in a cooler environment actually helps your body release more melatonin, which not only improves sleep quality, but helps you fall asleep faster. Personally, I wish that I had known that when I was pregnant through the summer with my twins a couple years ago, but that's okay. That's okay. We know this now. And fast forward to this summer, I now have my Cozy Earth sheets and I simply cannot go back. They're made from ultra soft bamboo viscose and they're designed to be temperature regulating, which basically means that my body stays cool and comfortable even when it's a million degrees outside, which it's basically a million degrees outside these days. So no more tossing, turning, or waking up sweaty, just deep, uninterrupted sleep, which is simply all that I need at this point. And there's real science behind this, by the way. Cooler sleep environments don't just help you sleep better, they also support mood regulation and can reduce night sweats, which is really game changing for anyone who can relate. Whether you're pregnant or you are just a warm sleeper or you're going through hormonal changes or whatever it might be, maybe you don't have air conditioning, this is truly game changing. And it's really not just about comfort, it's also about well being. And if you're thinking, okay, Traci, that sounds great, but what if I don't love them? That's okay. Cozy Earth has you covered with a 100-night sleep trial so you can try them on the hottest nights of the year risk-free. Plus, there's a 10-year warranty on all bedding. That's right, a decade of cool quality sleep. So go ahead, upgrade your summer, head to cozyearth.com and use code HUMANHR for 40% off their best-selling temperature-regulating sheets, loungewear, and more. Sleep cooler, lounge lighter, stay cozy. Welcome to the Bringing the Human Back to Human Resources podcast. I'm Traci Chernoff, and I've spent my entire professional career in HR. Each week, we'll explore the delicate balance between people and business with the aim to reconnect the two and create meaningful outcomes. Listen in as I share my own experiences, challenge the status quo, and chat with guests from various industries about our mission to bring the human back to human resources. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Bringing the Human Back to Human Resources podcast. Thank you so much for being here for another week. You know what to do. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. I'm so excited to introduce you to Topaz Adizes, an Emmy award-winning writer, director, and experienced design architect. He is the author of 12 Questions for Love, a guide to intimate conversations to deepen relationships. He's a master's student of human behavior, having the honor to and opportunity to witness over 1,200 courageous conversations over the last 11 years with his award-winning format, The And. He is an Edmund Hillary Fellow and Sundance Skulls Stories of Change Fellow. His works have been selected to Cannes, Sundance, IDFA, and South by Southwest, featured in New Yorker Magazine, Vanity Fair, and the New York Times, and have garnered an Emmy for new approaches to documentary and 2 World Press Photo Awards for immersive storytelling and interactive documentary. He is currently the founder and executive director for the experience design studio, The Skin Deep, and Topaz has studied philosophy at UC Berkeley and Oxford University. He also speaks 4 languages and currently lives in Uruguay with his wife and 2 children. Topaz, what a bio. My goodness,
Seriously.
You have so many accolades.
It's like a whole mouthful. My God.
I know. I was like, I'm going to get through it.
It's like a tongue twister. It's like, I got to simplify that.
No,
my simplified version is like Topaz. I sell questions. That's it.
What questions do you have? No,
I sell
don't
questions.
simplify it. Don't simplify it because that is like your whole life's journey all wrapped into one package. So I think, it's just on us to make sure we give it the emphasis that it deserves.
You're too kind, Traci.
But thank you so much for being here and for chatting with me this week. I mean, one of the things that really caught my attention when we first chatted and when you and your team reached out was this idea of how we ask questions, how we listen. I know this is a really big part of how you look at the world. So maybe we start there. How does listening, how do asking the right questions, how does that all impact our lives, whether it's in the workplace or personally?
Well, I guess maybe the listener just wondering, why would I give this guy another half hour of my time? It's because my experience has been based on the last 11, now we're starting the 12th year, we're halfway through the 12th year, of witnessing really incredible conversations between all kinds of pairs, people in all kinds of relationships, whether it's coworkers, best friends, exes, grandparents with their children, brothers, sisters, right? And that's an honored position to witness all these incredible conversations. Because if you think about it, where do you really get to see all these, the vulnerable conversations, the courageous conversations that people have? I've been doing that for the last 12 years. That's what's sold. The learnings is sold in the book, 12 Questions for Love. But ultimately, what I've learned is two things. You have to create the space and you have to construct well-constructed questions. And that's easier said than done because I think a lot of us don't know how to construct really good questions. And ultimately, what I've realized from the last year and a half of doing all these podcasts is that what I've seen is the most sticky is that I don't think people understand as much that the question is the answer. The question is the answer. So you have two twins. If you ask your twins, do you want to go to sleep tonight? Yes or no, those are the two answers, right? So
But
you
the
know
answer's
the
really
answer is going to
yes.
be no.
Right.
What is going to be?
Their answer is going to be no, but my answer is yes. I need them
Yes,
to say
exactly.
yes.
But your question is already shaping two possibilities, yes or no. Now, if
Mm.
you change the question and you say, hey guys, kiddos, do you want to sleep on the bed or on the couch? Staying awake is not a possibility. It's a very simple way to articulate that the question shapes the answer.
Yeah.
And yet our focus in our work, in our personal life, in public life, it's always on finding the answer. And we put so much emphasis on the answer and finding the answer. And that's not where the power lies. The power lies in constructing the question. So if you're saying, should I keep my job? Yes or no? What if you change the question? What if you change the question to what can I do in the next 6 months so that I feel challenged, so that I can feel uncomfortable but grow, such that I can contribute to my family, or such that I can contribute to the cause I find most, or such that I could position myself in a way that I could be really help contribute to my organization in 2 years. Construct a better question, new possibilities arise. And we don't spend time on the questions, we spend time on the answers because that's what we've been trained to do. That's what society trains us, right? It's like when you
Definitely.
meet somebody, they go, one of the first questions is the classic line, what do you do?
Right.
What about asking, what do you do with your valuable time? Because like you're a mother, you have two twins, you're
Mm-hmm.
also running your own business.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your most valuable time is that 1 hour after they go to bed. What are you doing then? Are you
Oh,
playing music? Are you reading a book? Are you working? What are you doing with your most valuable time? Might say more about you than what you do,
yeah, definitely.
right? So the power is in the question, and the question shapes the answer. And that's why I say the question is the answer.
I
Because
love
before you
that.
focus all on the answer, focus on the question. But yeah, that sounds easy. But then, like, great. Now, how do we construct better questions? But I think, and then we can go into there, but I think that's like a big learning I've seen from all these conversations. You got to create the space so people feel safe but uncomfortable. We can talk about that distinction is different. You can be safe but uncomfortable. And oftentimes people feel uncomfortable and then think they're unsafe. But if
Yeah.
you have to give that a longer thought and say, wait. Am I in a safe space and I'm uncomfortable? Ooh, that's actually where I want to be. Why? Because the discomfort means I'm going to grow. And the safety means I'm not going to die or something's not going to get destroyed.
Totally.
And then the second one is how do you construct questions? How do you do well constructed questions that reinforces that space of safety but leans into discomfort so that you can grow? And then you can apply this thinking to the workplace, to your personal life, to your relationships.
I think it's great advice. I love that you started off with this, the question is the answer. And I was looking to the side. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get there. I'm going to understand exactly what you're saying, right? Listening, active. Hopefully the listeners are also actively listening, which is a big part of this. And you took us to exactly what that means, which is really helpful because when I think about, at least in the workplace, we can all think of examples where we've had to navigate some difficult situations and we try to overcome them. And sometimes we're like, okay, well, I'm just going to find out more information. Before I jump to conclusions, I'm going to find out more information. And to your point, a lot of how we get additional information comes down to the way that we ask for that additional information. So that's a really
Hmm.
interesting perspective because I also think, if I even just think about my own career, I've had situations where I'm like, okay, I'm going to coach up. I'm going to manage up, meaning I'm going to coach my manager so they lead me better or in a way that
Mm-hmm.
I want to be led. And it's like, well, some of those questions are like, well, why did you make this decision? Or why, just general questions. Why did you make this decision? Where is this coming from? Are there changes? But those questions don't necessarily get you to that next level where you're really trying to help your manager see that you don't have the information. You want them to share information with you, and there's a different way to get more from them. And it's just, I think it's a real example for a lot of people, because you always hear these statistics that people work for people and they leave when they're not working for the right people. And I'm coming to this because one of the things that you just mentioned was safety and, being able to feel challenged, and that sometimes when people, or I should say being in that level of discomfort, when people do feel discomfort, they get this fight or flight and they just
Hmm.
leave rather than sitting in it and realizing that they are in a safe space and they need to allow themselves to feel all of that. And so coming back to
Yeah.
this example where you have maybe a leader that you need leading you differently, or you're working with someone who isn't exactly someone that you'd prefer to work with, there you do have to kind of go through those steps to say, okay, am I in a place where I can address this? Am I in a place where I can push for more information? And beyond that, if I am in an uncomfortable situation, like, am I safe in that uncomfortable situation?
Hmm.
And that last part is hard.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think feeling safe in an uncomfortable situation, that's hard. Is that what you're saying?
That, and just feeling uncomfortable,
Oh,
and
totally.
not just running away from it.
Well, look, I think that is, look, one thing I've learned from watching so many conversations is that it's not about having the answer or even the right answer or even the sufficient answer. That's not going to tell you the success of the relationship. What's going to indicate the success of the relationship is, are they capable of sitting in the discomfort of the question? Like, we don't have to get to the answer, because sometimes the answer doesn't just show up right now, especially if you're asking like a deep question or a complicated question. Like, maybe you need time to sit in that. Maybe you need time to sit in the idea, like, you understand that you and your partner, or you and your uh, colleague at work, or whoever, and your friend, maybe you have different opinions, and you got to sit in that discomfort. But the sitting in this comfort suggests that, like, hey, there's something stronger between us. There's an underlying value between us that enables us to sit in the discomfort of the space, because we know it's safe. Why? Because I know you don't want to stab me in the back. I don't want to stab you in the back. We might have different opinions, but I know that you love your children like I love my children. So, like, let's find the common value. Or, like, how do we sit in the space of discomfort? That's going to be the practice of the future. Why? Because the practice of the present is just swipe left or right or up or down immediately as soon as you see something you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
or not responding to the DM, or not calling your friend back, or just hanging up, or just not calling them for 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
or leaving your job, or firing the person that works for you. Right? It's like, and you get good at what you practice. And we are being trained by the current social media, and then soon even AI, because things will get so much faster, of just done next. This doesn't work, next. I don't want that. I want this. I want that. Great. But there's fallibility in life, and life is gray. And when you're dealing with other humans, you're dealing with emotions. And so you have to be able to practice the practice of sitting in the discomfort.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is, so if you're looking for let's flip this. If you're looking to hire someone, try to see how they sit in discomfort. Maybe ask them an uncomfortable question in the interview. Maybe offer them the opportunity to ask you an uncomfortable question. And if you're looking, because you say you work for people, because ultimately it's like the person that you're working with or for, can you see how they sit in discomfort? Can you see how look, nobody likes to sit in discomfort, but on the flip side of discomfort is growth. If you look at every great achievement you've had, every one of your proudest moments, I mean, just imagine one. You won an award, you did something, people are clapping, you succeeded in some campaign or some project or something. I promise you, an hour before, 3 months before, 2 weeks before, you were stressed. You were anxious because you were uncomfortable. You had to stretch. You were going for that goal. You were scared to talk in front of people. You weren't sure if of the rest of the team would like the campaign idea you suggested. So you really worked on it for 3 nights on the slides, and then you're anxious, and then you had butterflies, and you present it, and they're like, "This is brilliant, thank you so much." And then it succeeded, and you're like, "Wow, great achievement." The achievement is commensurate to the anxiety and the discomfort you had prior to achieving that.
Hmm.
So when you have moments of discomfort, you can go, "Wait, there's a lesson here. There's growth here. Let's do it." And I think the key part is it a safe space?
Yeah, the safety is really important. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget when we are the individual feeling these things and, trying to measure, are we in a safe space? This is uncomfortable. That the other person on the other side of the conversation could be going through that same, thought process, especially when we think about employee to manager or colleague to colleague. There are so many reasons why people behave badly or act out in workplaces or are
Mm-hmm.
difficult to work with, way beyond the scope that I have. Like this requires a whole like psychological assessment as to why people are the way that they are, and it all goes back to how they're raised. But if we think about just a classic dynamic of employee to manager, it's easy for us as an employee to say my manager sucks, they don't care about me, they're always yelling, or they don't have my best interest, they never tell me anything. But we have no idea, not to justify, poor decision making or communication, but we have no idea what that manager might be feeling. Like, are they in a space where they feel safe? Do they have they had the exposure or the experience to be able to know the proper way to navigate managing people? And so I think a lot of this, and it actually does come back to what you mentioned around AI and certainly social media and what I would consider this like instant gratification culture, that it's so hard, I think, for people to remember that there is another person on the other side of a conversation that we have to give some grace to, and that there's
Mm,
consideration there in certain circumstances. Obviously, there are some exceptions to that rule. But when I think about this instant gratification culture, a quick story here. I recently saw a friend. They just had a son a few months ago, and we were introducing our kids to him. And one of their friends was like, my son is like 8, and we order something on Amazon, he expects it to be there tomorrow. Like there is even same day, and it made me
wow.
like real right. It made me like I had a moment where I just like stopped. I almost stopped breathing for a moment because I was like, whoa, when I was a kid, that didn't even exist. Like we would have to go to the store, God forbid, and we would have to shop in person. And if a store didn't have an item you were looking for, you had to find another place to get it. Maybe it was eBay, maybe it was somewhere, in another state. Like it was just a totally different world. And this is not so long ago. But I was thinking about that just even from the perspective of my own kids, that oh my gosh, is that level of instant gratification, that swipe left, swipe right, if I don't see what I like, and I'm not going to give anything or anyone the time of day, I'm just going to expect and look for what I want. What is the implication of that on
Sure.
everything, on
Sure.
society, on people, on our lives, on work? And
Yeah.
yeah, I still haven't even processed all of that. Like I
Well,
still am
then
asking
just
those
but
questions.
but then take it to the next level. I mean, now we're going to engage with AI.
Right.
I mean, are your kids going to need teachers
Oh
when
my gosh.
they can have an infinitely patient. So it's always there. It's always patient. It knows everything, and it knows exactly how to talk to you. So if your kid loves hip hop and it wants to learn about space, you can ask ChatGPT or any of them. Go, hey, teach me about Uranus. Teach me about Saturn, but give it to me in a hip hop song,
It's
and
so
it
true.
will. Oh no, no, I don't understand that. You know what? Can you do it again? No, no, no. I have this. Other, do it again. Now you do that to a teacher. My God, they might lose its humanity and lose its
Yeah.
humans lose the patience. So
Yeah.
the instant, like what's coming instant is not just our consumable items, but also our information and the way it can come to us.
Yeah.
And um, so then that really, and then also in the workspace. I mean, in time, you're going to spend as much time speaking to humans as you're talking to AI. And then what happens? It's going to get easier to talk to AI because doesn't have an attitude back. It does whatever you say. You know, you
Right.
can train it to like you could give it instructions to say, you're a brilliant, or you don't even command me, just give me the facts. You can tell it how to respond to you exactly how you want to respond. It's a mirror back to you
Yeah.
and however you want. Humans are not like that.
Not at all.
So then you're going to start thinking, wait, why am I handling these humans? And so what we need to think about, and they actually speaks to like the title of your podcast, right? Is like, why do we bring more humanity into the workspace? What's the payoff of that? It's a valid question. It's
It
one that
is.
we need to answer, and we have to explore, because if there's no payoff to bringing more humans to the workplace, then it's going to be one man organization, one person, one human, one woman, one non-binary organizations with 15 AI agents. So
Hmm.
what is the value of bringing humans into the workplace? In my opinion, it's in the differences. It's in the differences. That's where the gold is going to be. That's where the opportunities will be, because an AI node, any piece of AI, is learning at the same time, ubiquitously. So you imagine for a moment that an AI is like all the kids in the world. Just imagine, right? It's like nodes everywhere. And if one kid learns something in Japanese, then all the other kids instantaneously learn Japanese. Next thing you know, you're talking to your kid in California, start talking to you Japanese. Why? Because some kid in Japan learned a new word and they all learned it and they're all learning at the same time. That's how AI works. We don't work that way at all. We have we see things differently. We use the same words, but they mean different things with different definitions. We get confused between the difference between, are you speaking in the should language, like this is how it should be? Is this how you want it to be, or is this how it is? You know, like we have those kinds of changes in our viewpoints, and in lieu of those differences, in the space between, that's where opportunities lie. That's where the magic is. And I think that we have to reinforce that idea and really understand that to create the leverage so that us as humans will actually want to engage with one another.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll just go with the simple route of no conflict, no emotions needed, no discomfort. I'm just talking to AI and it's a one-way directional conversation. Even though, of course, it reflects back to me, tells me how great it is, gives me opinion. It's not really human. It doesn't see things differently,
Not at all.
right? And I think that the onus is going to be on us as humans to really ask ourselves, what makes us really human? Where is the true magic of being human? And where are the opportunities that we can see that no one else can, that no AI can? And it is in
Yeah.
our differences. That's why the practice of sitting in discomfort, which is basically when there's difference, becomes one of the most important practices to develop and to hone for the future.
1,000%. As you were sharing your thoughts on that, I was thinking about how amazing it is that humans created this technology. Like, that is an incredible thing. And how terrifying it is. Because
Mm-hmm.
when I think about, you know, maybe in 100 years from now, probably less, when AI is really, kind of this reigning champion in terms of how we live our lives and all facets of what that means, there's an element to this which we know that that's just not how the world works. It's not how life is, where there isn't this duality in thinking, or there is an emotion in the thought process. Like this, that's what makes us human. And even when we think about other animals in the world, we've seen how they've had to adapt to changing environments. I mean, like, I watched David
Mm-hmm.
Attenborough
Mm-hmm.
documentaries, and my husband and I just
Yeah.
watched Ocean, and I was like, why are we watching this? This is so depressing. Like, I was crying. I was like, this is just too much.
Yeah.
But it's David Attenborough, and it was amazing. And one of the takeaways in every documentary that he does, I think at least, is that he tells you all of this. He and the documentarians tell you all about the problem and what's happening and why. I think is it trawling in the ocean? I think that's what it's called, where they're just like scraping the ocean floor for fish and how it
Mm-hmm.
destroys those environments.
Mm-hmm.
How that's a problem, and this overfishing is a problem, and it impacts coastal communities around the world. And then they tell you how you can work within the changing society and how the world as we know it has changed because of advancements in technology and increased population, how you then can overcome those things, restore wildlife, still fish for your communities, but practice, different conservation efforts. So it's like, when I think about that in the lens of AI, it's like we know that AI is this amazing technology that provides knowledge and resources to people all over the world in all different areas of life. And yet, we also see on the horizon some of the challenges that could come with that. So it's like, how do we reconcile the advancement in technology that we ultimately need? And we've seen advancements in technology throughout, human life, this probably being the fastest. But then it's like, okay, well, we know that this challenge is on the horizon. What do we do now? How do we incorporate these advancements without limiting our ability to continue to grow
Mm.
and advance as humans with one another, and still engage in what's considered normal and healthy societal interactions? Because this, like, we were talking offline about some generational differences that come out in the workplace and how that has changed what it means to even be a working human or working person. And I think that when we look at AI as an example, there it's hard to look at AI in the context of work as we knew it even 3 years ago, because it was totally different then. It wasn't as strong, it wasn't as capable. And now we see all of these changes at the, on a micro scale, and then with AI at the macro scale. So it's, I guess in my mind, I'm thinking, well, as generations continue to evolve, they're used to social media, they are used to this instant gratification. And now with AI adding on to that, how do we help them to still maintain social relationships so that when they are in a, typical workplace, they're able to succeed? Like, that's where my mind tends to
Hmm.
go, because otherwise it's kind of hard. They're very antithetical.
Yeah, I think what comes up for me is just what is experience you want to have, to what end? And fundamentally, that's like, what's the question you're asking yourself? Like, you're gonna have all these new tools. You're gonna have we humans are so good at adapting
Totally.
that what soon was shocking becomes normal. And I mean, I'm oof, born in '76, so I remember when the facts came out. It was shocking. Or even bottled water. Bottled water. When bottled water came out, I was a kid and thought it was the most ridiculous thing. Why am I drinking out of bottled water when I can drink out of the tap?
Mm-hmm.
But now drinking out of the tap is crazy. You're going to drink out of bottled water or some filter. It's just, right? We adapt to change so well. I mean, I can't even imagine what it was like to do work. And I did live in the time when you did work or coming out of college without email. And
Oh
now,
man, I
without
wish.
phones, right? I remember
Ugh.
like deciding, do I want to get the phone on? But we
Yeah.
so quickly adapt that we think it's always been that way, but it hasn't,
Right.
right? It hasn't. So what does that mean about this moment now? Like asking, is AI good or bad? It's irrelevant. That question's irrelevant because it's here. It's like you're just like social media when it came out. Is it good or bad? Well, that's irrelevant because it's here. The flood is here.
Right.
Maybe a better question is, what are we going to do with it to build a future? What is the future we want to build utilizing this technology? So that's why, like, what is the question? What is experience to what end? What experience I want to have? What experience we as a society want to have? What markers are we going to put into place now to protect us so that we go in a certain direction that we can, you can't stop the flood, but you can channel it.
Mm-hmm.
You can channel it through your own being aware of your own actions in your relationship to technology, through public policy, through public discourse. What are the conversations we're having? What are the questions that we're asking? And that will lead us to channel the energy, this technology that's coming to an end that we want. And I don't think we're asking quality questions. And that's why we're answering poorer questions, which means we're leading to a world that has, more polarization, more epidemic, pandemic of loneliness,
Mm-hmm.
um, mental health deteriorating,
Yeah, we
polarization
certainly
is
see that.
increasing. Like, what if we ask different questions? What if in your company you ask, What do we want our grandchildren to say we're doing right now? Like, what if we change your question as a HR? If you're working in the HR space, what if your question about your job is not a job description but a question? How can I create an environment such that every employee, every team member feels like this company would not be the same without them? What if that was your job question? Like, a lot of times you have job descriptions. No, what if we have job questions? Instead of having mission statements for companies, what if we had mission questions? Because the rate of change is changing so fast that your mission statement now becomes obsolete tomorrow. But your question can last longer. Why? Because the answer keeps changing.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing for your job. Like, your job is like, I have editors in my team at the Skin Deep, and they're editing on Adobe Premiere. And I'm telling them, guys, your job is not to know how to work Adobe Premiere. Your job is to know how to tell a story. Your job is how, even deeper than that, your job is how to convey something in an emotional way that engages an audience and moves them. So if you're using Adobe Premiere, or if you're using Google VO3, or you're using whatever, Flow, an AI tool doesn't change the question you're asking yourself is, how can I make a piece of content that moves people and engages them? Right? So, like, your
Mm-hmm.
job is not the thing you do. It's the question you ask of yourself. And then the thing you do keeps changing with technology.
Totally. This actually is really making me think of a conversation I just had yesterday with someone around social media. And for me as a content creator, heaven forbid, I can't even I'm like, am I
Yeah.
doing that? Is that what I'm doing? I care so much about this podcast and I care so much about the guests. I want whatever I put out on social media to match that. But I personally can't stand being on social media. It's like one of those things
Yeah.
where I'm on it because it's what helps me to feel connected. And yet every time I'm on it, I'm like, I'm wasting my life. And so I
Yeah.
outsource that. And I have someone on my team who does social media.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was saying to someone, everything that I'm seeing on LinkedIn, even my own posts, look like they are generated by AI. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not my brand. That's not
Mm-hmm.
authenticity for me. For some people, it might be. And
Yeah.
part of the conversation was from my own words saying, I think it would be better for me not to post on my social media accounts than to post things that feel inauthentic or feel like I'm just
Mm-hmm.
doing it because I have to. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it's like, when I think about how we're really like sitting in this like discomfort and thinking about what are we contributing to as humans,
Yeah.
as silly as it might sound, like there is this pressure on me as a podcaster to be on social media. And yet I'm like, but do
Yeah.
I? Do
Yeah.
I? Or like, do I just have to invest where I'm spending my time on social media in a
Uh-huh.
different way?
So what comes up for me, I think that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's a really honest, I experienced that too, and
Hmm.
a lot. And two things come up for me. One is the reality that when I say tsunami of AI, like, there's a tsunami of content that's already here and is going to keep coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's all going to be synthetic content. And I think 2 years ago, I heard a podcast where the researcher said, listen, in 2 years, which is around now, about another 6 months, 80% of the content you'll see online will be synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, when I heard
I see
that and I
that.
totally understood that,
Yeah.
I started hashtagging made human.
Hmm.
Made human. And we have some of our content, like a lot of our editing stuff, it's made human. It's made by a human. It's not AI. And if it's made by a human, we hashtag made human.
Hmm.
I was like, because I think that's
That's
important.
clever. Yeah, clever.
Because the reality is that you're a podcaster, and like, what was a lake is now becoming an ocean, or what was an ocean is now becoming beyond an ocean. It's going to all 7, 8, like at once. How many oceans are there in the world right now? Is it 7 or 9? Am I
7, I
just
think.
7? I
I'll
think,
look it
but
up
is that,
as you.
yeah,
I think
like, oh my
7.
God. But the point is, what used to be is now just going to get, I mean, there are bot farms just creating synthetic content. And all of a sudden, what used to be a haystack is now just miles of hay, and you have to find that needle, right?
There are 5 oceans, by the way.
5 oceans. Thank you for clarifying. That was quick. Did you just ask ChatGPT?
I
Did
asked
you just
Google.
go to
I asked
AI?
Google.
Google.
I
Same
asked
thing,
Google.
Gemini.
Yeah,
So,
same thing.
but so like the honest is like, we're going to get lost. Your authenticity is going to get lost just by volume of the water rising.
Totally.
So you have to be aware of that. And you have to, like, how do I stand out when all the water rises? How am I going to make it easier for people to find the needle in the haystack when the haystack is not just a haystack anymore? It's a whole village of hay. It's like a
Yeah.
whole pop, Okay, so that's one. Two is like, I suggest doing a substitution for you. You're saying social media. Social media carries all this context for you. And it has like this connotation. And that connotation, that like algorithm for you doesn't work for you. So give it a different name. Call it something else. Don't call it social media.
Hmm.
Call it the tributaries. Call it the rivers. Call it whatever, the ether. Give it a new thing and have a different relationship to it. Because what if we reframed it and say, like, Traci, it's not social media. It's like, yeah, there's all this shit out there. And like, you're offering people a corner of humanity in that shit. Now, if you frame it that way, maybe you're like, okay, cool.
I'm into that.
I want to. I'm like, I see the work that the Skin Deep does, that we do, is a digital dose of humanity. And so, and I know that's true because we're not as big as we could be, because we don't make our edits to engage with fear and fury. And we
Right.
could, believe
Right.
me, we have so many conversations that we could re-edit, and oh my God, that we intentionally edit against the toxicity, because we know that like this is going to go viral, but a bunch of people are just going to talk smack and troll this person. And what's the value in that? There's so much content out there that's doing that already. There's no value in that. So instead, how do we edit this in a way that there's actually value? And if that means, 10x less people watch it, but they get that much more value, and we're creating a corner of the internet where you can sense humanity, that's got longer term value, because that's the game we're playing. So I suggest you do a substitution and don't call it social media anymore, and change what you call it and change your relationship to it so that you can engage with it. Because to the first point, it's inevitable. I mean, you're there. That's how you get out there. I mean, right?
Yeah, it's true. I like that. Reframing. So often on my podcast, there are discussions around like mindset shifts and how we have to flip the script. And it's always very easy for me to talk about that for others. And yet then it's like, how do I do it for myself? And the thing about standing out that I thought about as you were saying that with relation to AI is that even like at a very fundamental level, we see this like in my industry, at least with resumes. Part of my business is helping clients with their resumes and interview preparation. And sometimes people will ask me when we're engaging in this, kind of back and forth on whether they want me to help them or not. It's like, well, why can't I just use ChatGPT? Why can't I just use AI or Canva to create my resume? It's like, you can. Sure, you could do whatever you want to do. It's comes down to whether or not you're standing out. The value is having someone who is a human being getting to speak with you, getting to understand your background to help you create your best self on paper. And at first I remember thinking, oh man, am I going to like get run out of town by AI because people are going to start writing their resumes using these AI tools? And then I see those resumes and they are the same cookie cutter resumes as every other person in that same type of role, because they think, oh, well, it looks great, it sounds great, but there's no uniqueness in it. So there is a lot of value in leaning into humanity. So it's like that's where, those differences are what unite us as people, and those are things that we can actually connect to in a more real way, more authentically.
Yeah, I see AI's superpower is not knowledge. It's time.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's time. So in that sense, it's like, yeah, I use ChatGPT. Yeah, I use Claude. Of course I use Like, I'll use Grok.
Yeah.
No, I'll use anything. Why? Because what I could do in 1 hour now, in previous, would take me 3 days.
Yeah.
So I can get to a depth that would have taken me 3 days. I could get to that depth in 1 hour. So that means in 3 hours, I can get to a depth that would have taken me, 9 days. That I would never have spent the time on. So actually, I'm not against using it. It's like, to what end? I'm using it because it's going to push my creativity. It's going to push my level of depth and research, because I can spend that time really asking the question, what is it I want to share? What is it? And how can I research more information that I couldn't have access to otherwise, or would have taken me so much longer to find? How can I organize my thoughts so much faster? And like, I think that is valuable, because then it goes back to the onus of like, well, the onus is on you, human. What is it you want to create? What is it that you want to share? And you can do more with your time now. So what do you want to do with your time?
Yeah.
And
I
what's
No,
interesting
no,
is
go ahead.
that on one hand we have the AI, which is giving us more capabilities. On the other hand, we have social media and gaming and content that numbs us. So
Yeah.
the numbing powers, the tools that numb us as individuals and as a population, are getting much stronger. While at the same time, the AI tools that can make us much more engaging and deeper and create more interesting experiences and thoughts is elevating. So depending, where do you want to spend your time?
Hmm. Well, I'm curious because you are, I would consider you to be a very creative person, just given your, career and all of the things that you've accomplished. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is if you felt that your creativity has taken a back seat because of the use of AI and how it can help to articulate things sometimes for us,
Mm-hmm.
that we otherwise, would need to really think about and lean into. And to your point, spend the time uh, going through and vetting, so to speak, or fleshing out if that's in any way impacted your ability to be creative. But I mean, you just talked about how you feel
It's
it
push
it
it's
expands
push my
your.
creativity. It's
Hmm.
push my creativity. Because before, if you have a vision, you're like, oh, but how am I going to make that? As a filmmaker, how
Yeah.
am I going to make that? And now, I have, now I can just prompt it and I can work it and I can get exactly what I want and I can spend the time and I can even make it. I mean, it's pushed my creativity, right?
Hmm.
So now, like, if I have an idea about a post, okay, I can quickly write it up and get it there. But then I just spent 15, 20 minutes, but is it that deep? Wait, why don't I spend another 20 minutes and take it deeper? Why don't I query it against a historical reference? And let me just research this moment here and see, verify if it's correct, and then deepen this post. And then so for me, the AI has enabled my creativity, it's challenged my creativity to
Wow.
push it, to go deeper, to go farther, to expand more, right? I'm not just, because if I have an hour, if I can spend an hour to get something I would achieve in 3 days, why am I going to just spend 15 minutes? I'll spend an hour and I'll
Right.
go deep. Like, let me offer more value to the audience, to the people who will grant me the honor value of their time. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, I actually feel a whole wave of, on one hand, I feel a whole wave of energy for myself, because now the impetus is on me to create even deeper, more valuable work, because I can do it. What would have taken me 3 days takes me an hour now. Like, wow. Okay, great.
Hmm.
Let me spend 3 days in 1 hour, and let me take it deep. Let me offer real value if I can, or much more value. On the flip side, I understand that I think we're facing a serious problem where what social media did to the mental health of society
Oof.
will be nothing compared to what AI is going to do to the mental health or our sense of self. Because for the
Mm.
first time in human history, us humans are going to be engaging with basically a god. What's a god? It's something that's omnipresent and omniscient. Omnipotent, I don't know, maybe not yet, but definitely it's omniscient, means it knows everything, and it's omnipresent. It's always there.
Hmm.
So your relation, like if you and I are having a conversation and I need some advice and you give me some advice, it's like, oh, that's really good advice. Okay, but you're not like, you have mistakes. You go to your therapist, you know that they make mistakes. They're
Yeah.
human, they're
Yeah.
fallible. Okay, but now you're talking to an AI that you're like, this thing should know everything, and it's always available, and it doesn't have feelings and it doesn't have emotions, so it's, doesn't make mistakes per se, or doesn't like have emotional mistakes or fallibilities. Well, it must know things. So now we're going to start are we going to start questioning our creativity? Are we going to start questioning our decisions in life? Should I take this job? Does it pay enough? What should I ask for? Should I be what do you think I should do here? And da da da. Then we start losing our sense of self.
Yeah.
And that's what's concerning.
Yeah, that is concerning. It's an existential crisis as far as I'm concerned.
Hmm.
I wouldn't even necessarily say a threat because, again, I think that there are some amazing use cases for AI. I really believe in knowing how to wield technology and leverage it. Um,
Hmm.
but there is, yeah, that's a really interesting thought about how it will and can impact our psyche.
You know what the top three uses of AI this year are, uh,
Hmm.
um, according to an Harvard Business Review study?
No, I
Do you know what
don't.
they are?
No.
Number one is companionship. Yeah,
Companionship.
yeah. That was number two last year.
Oh
Number
boy.
one last year was coding, and coding this year has fallen to like the seventh or eighth spot.
Hmm.
You know what number two is, which was never on the list ever, but is
No.
this year?
Tell me.
Like, help me organize my life,
Oh, I'm not surprised by that. I see so
right?
many people saying, "Help me with my gym,
Yeah.
routine. Like, tell me what
Yep.
my food meal prep plan should be for the week."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Good
You
point.
know what number three is, which was also never, ever, ever on the list, ever, but is number three now? Help me find my purpose.
OMG.
Yep. So
Wow.
AI this year, according to Harvard's Business Review, top three things is in the sacred space of relationship to yourself and to others. Okay. The challenge of that is that you're engaging with something, like I said, that is functionally a God. And so you're going to accredit with a lot of value and trust because you think it's
Yeah.
like knows everything and it's always available, remembers everything you say, knows exactly how to talk to you. So then your sense of self is what's going to happen to that? When can you say no? AI can't say no. AI can't say, I don't want to help you. AI can't
Right.
say, I'm not available right now, but you can. You can say that's not a good idea. But what are we going to do when we start relying on it so much? And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that we have to be aware of. And that's just something that, that's the flip side that I'm concerned about, that I
Yeah.
feel like the
Well,
work the Skin Deep is really like stepping into.
yeah, I think it's amazing work that you're doing. I don't know if you remember, it was maybe like a year ago when ChatGPT was down for like, I don't know, 20 minutes. And everyone was
Okay.
freaking out, freaking out. People were losing their crap, like losing it. And I remember I only noticed it because I was going to like ask some stupid question, and I say it's a stupid question because it's easily something if I had spent 10 more minutes, I probably could have just figured it out for myself. But again, it's like, oh, I spend 10 minutes when I can just,
Sure.
get the answer right then and there. Even though you do have to fact check because, as much as it
Yeah.
knows everything, you do have to, have some reasonability there. However, I remember I was like, oh my gosh, it's down. What do I do now? I'm like, oh, I used to read the thesaurus and the encyclopedia. I know how to find answers. But if people are so accustomed to getting all of their information from that one particular resource, what happens when it is down or it gets shut down by a
What
regulation, right? I mean, you
happens?
never know.
What happened last Thursday when Google and Shopify, I gotta know how many things went down for a few hours.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, like it
we're
felt like
already
the
in
world
that
stopped.
space now. Yeah, we're already in that space now. And I think
Yeah.
I just think that we as humans, like I think it's actually a beautiful thing because the question is gonna lead to like what experience you want to have. What is important to you that you want to create for yourself and for others? And now the impetus will be on us to really make that decision
Yeah.
and really say, like, what does it mean to bring humans to work? Like the name of your podcast, like
Yeah.
bringing humanity to work. Like what is it? It's
Bringing the human
bringing the
back to
human,
human resources. Yeah. It's all the
you
same
know?
though. It is
But it's
all the
like,
same. Yeah.
what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to share humanity? What does it mean? What is it that I want to do with the experiences I want to create with my time and with the people and the relationships in my life? And now the onus is really going to be on us to make that decision. And some of us will not face that question and go be entertained and numbed out by social media and by content. And others hopefully will say, okay, I want to make the most of my time
Hmm.
and create the experiences that I find most valuable. So what is it? What are those experiences that are most valuable?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I can only say thank you so much for all of your wisdom and the way that you look at the world. It's really, I think this is probably one of my favorite episodes that I've ever done. So I really appreciate your time. It's
Thank you.
and all that you bring to this whole conversation with the work that you're doing at the Skin Deep and through all your books and all of that. So I can't think of a better place to segue and give you more time back, because I've taken over an hour and a half of your time, which I appreciate. Considering we've spent 30 minutes chit chatting and now, almost 50 minutes talking about what I think is really important information and topics. So, with that, where can the listeners connect with you? Because I know they're going to want to learn more. They're going to want to connect and interact with all of the work that you're doing.
Well, thanks so much for the time and the space, Traci. I appreciate it, and your kind words. That means a lot. If you're moved by it, I'm always have imposter syndrome, so
no, don't.
That's a nice, but it's a nice thing to know that I'm offering value. So I really appreciate that. Well, one is like the Skin Deep. All our experiences and our products are the skindeep.com, and our social media tags are the Skin Deep. And then we just launched last week a new podcast called Getting Under the Skin. So you can check that out on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, guts.podcast. And then my personal website is topazadizes.com, where I list all my writings and the podcasts and all the new products and experiences we're making at the Skin Deep.
Amazing. Well, good luck with your new podcast. Sounds amazing. I'll check it out. And everything will be linked in the show notes too, so that everyone can click those easily. So thank you so much again for your time. And I think you offer a tremendous amount of value. So, hey, just before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this show so that you are the first to hear when an episode drops each week. And maybe leave a 5-star review and a comment about how much you loved this episode. Plus, if you have someone in mind who would really enjoy this episode, make sure you share it with them. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.